Today, I am thrilled to be welcoming back a wonderful and inspiring returning guest who's also a very good friend of mine, Nikhil Rughani. So Nikhil is an Australian executive coach, trainer, and founder of Steel Lotus, where he helps leaders and teams achieve playful peak performance and executive intuition through the integration of science, soul, and strategy. With a background spanning copywriting, marketing, coaching, and teaching, Nikhil brings 2 decades of real-world experience to his work. He's supported CEOs, government leaders, and ambitious professionals, and currently teaches master's level students at the University of New South Wales here in Sydney, Australia, in advertising, marketing, and branding. He's also studying neuroscience at the University of New England, adding academic depth to the practice already grounded in both performance and human behaviour. Nikhil's method is built on holding opposites in tension, including play and precision, structure and flow, science and spirituality. That philosophy shapes his coaching, his training programs, and his belief that high performance should feel more coherent, not more complicated. He's currently focused on building a scalable ecosystem of executive trainings and certification pathways, including NLP, hypnosis, and timeline therapy, with a growing emphasis on corporate and team development. His goal is to help people create meaningful results without the burnout, while building capability that lasts. Now, included in all of this, he also teaches Taekwondo, bringing discipline, presence, and embodiment into everything he does. His broader philosophy is simple. Real success comes from aligning who you are with how you work. Nikhil, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy that we're spending this time together.
It's so cool to be back. Thanks so much for having me back there, Megan.
You are very welcome.
Hello and welcome to The True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North. I am a purpose finder, mental health professional, and guide for those ready to return to who they truly are. Here, we explore what it means to live a life led by purpose, alignment, and deeper inner truth. Through real conversations, powerful reflections, and soul-led strategies, we'll uncover the stories, tools, and insights that help you navigate life's crossroads and find your own true north. So whether you're in the middle of a transformation, seeking clarity, or just curious about what's next, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Your path starts now.
So Nikhil's philosophy is built on a powerful idea that real success comes from aligning who you are with how you work. So Nikhil, when you appeared on the show last season, you were referring to the work as peaceful peak performance, but there's been a slight shift in how you are positioning that work and now calling it playful peak performance. So what has shifted to make you realise that peaceful may not have been the right word anymore?
That's such a good question, Megan. And that came from a challenge that was posed to me, actually. Because I remember I was having this great conversation and someone said to me, peaceful peak performance. Why peaceful? I said, well, because I don't like hustle. I am anti-hustle. I don't believe in hustle. Hustle almost destroyed not only my business, but it also kind of took a toll on my health. And what I really craved was, that sense of calm, that peace, that bliss. The question that really changed it was, well, what would you do if you were calm and blissful and chilled? And it really got me thinking, what would I do? And I said, you know what? If there's anything I'd do, I'd make my life more playful. I just want to have fun. I just want to have more joy in my life. I want to be playing more. And then it hit me. It's not peaceful peak performance. I want to be playful. And it completely shifted everything I was doing, the branding, the alignment of what I did. I went and got a brand new brand identity done. I literally changed my whole approach to the work I'm doing. And I feel more aligned with it, right? Because, look, let's face it, I'm a big kid, right? But who isn't? On the inside, all we want to do is we want to have joy in our lives. And the earliest memories we have of joy is when we're playing. So as adults, we want to have that type of fun, that joy that we had as kids from playing. Why can't we bring that into our adulthood? Why can't we bring that into our business? Why can't we bring it into our health and our relationships and our spirituality? And so my question was, well, we can, right? It's not why can't we, it's we can. So I said, let's do it. And literally within moments, boom, it just changed. And I went to my designer and said, hey, this is what I'm about. And I must have given him such a cool briefing, because in literally his first draft was, that's it. That's who I am. That's my colors. That's my branding. That's my logo. That's everything. It's all done. And it's been play ever since.
Yeah. And having seen the new branding, because I'm kind of behind the scenes and have seen it, I'm one of the lucky ones. You're right, like the colors and the look, and just it's actually really clean. So, you know, when we think about playing, not necessarily where, you know, when you're playing in the mud, you're not exactly clean. But I think from a mind point of view, when we're playing, you know, there's no jargon in our head. There's nothing else but just fun and joy. Yeah.
100%. And I took all of this stuff even into, like, you know, teaching the Taekwondo. We made it more fun. And, you know, we've got a tournament coming up, you know, in the next 7 days or so. I've got a Taekwondo tournament. And I've got the largest contingent of students from the smallest training hall, right? So we make up 10% of the tournament, our students. Why? Because it's the play that I've taken into teaching Taekwondo, right? That everyone just wants to keep doing this. They're enjoying the, you know, the fun that we're having. We've had many tournaments inside our hall. I took the same play into teaching at the University of New South Wales. Now, these were all just social experiments, Megan. Like, I had no empirical data or evidence that this would even work. I'm like, you know what? Let's just have a bit of fun with this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I played a game with my students at university, and they were not the most solid communicators, but they had to give accessible presentations. And so I played a game with them, played some few games with them, told them how they could make it more fun. By their very fifth presentation, which is the last presentation, you know, the average around the classes were like passes and credits. I told them, let's have fun with this. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to engage. I want you to tell bad jokes, all of that. But I took it one step further and I said, hey, let's make this real fun. If you guys, every single one of this class gets a high distinction, I'm buying you all coffee. Yeah, that was the most expensive coffee bill I've ever had. Let's put it that way. But it was all in the spirit of fun, and the reviews that came back from the students. So we've had so much fun. We've just learned so much. We love the way you engaged us. No one's treated this way. And I realized that there's something true to this, right? That when we can have fun and we can inspire others to have fun, not only do you get more from it, not only do you retain your learnings more, but it becomes an experience. And this is ultimately what we're all after, is just the best experiences in life.
Yeah.
Business can't be a positive experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also infectious as well, because if you're doing business with someone who's loving what they're doing and they're having fun while they're doing it, it's in you. Of course you want to work with that person. Of course you want to be in their proximity because they bring out the joy and the fun in you.
Yeah. Life
doesn't need to be serious, even when we're pursuing our passion and our purpose and working.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't need to be peaceful anymore. I could just be playful.
I love it. So in the work that you're doing, like, I'm going to get really specific now about the holding opposing thoughts at the same time. So things like structure and flow, science and spirituality. Love that one. So most of us are wired to pick a side. That could be an old belief system that we've got. But how do you train yourself and also the leaders that you work with to get comfortable in, like, sitting in that tension? How are they comfortable, and then what does that tension feel like?
That's a good question. Let me go with the tension part of it first.
Yeah.
We're so geared to think black and white, right and wrong, yes and no. You know, there's scientific study being done, and I believe the psychologist was a guy called Maurice Massey, who said that all of our beliefs, everything that we know, all of our values, whatever we classify as right and wrong. Literally everything that we know from our lives is built into us. It's imprinted into us between the ages of 0 and 7. Between the ages of 0 and 7, we're just sponges. There is no filter, right? And if you then look at, modern psychology, behavioral sciences, and even, some of the work that we do in NLP, they talk about the emergence of a critical faculty around the age of 7. And this is the filter that tells us yes and no, right and wrong, this or that. And then as our consciousness evolves, it tends to go from creative to logical, left to right brain, right? So creative brain being the right side of the brain, the logical brain being the left side of the brain. And then there comes a point in our consciousness where we engage a part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex. Now, studying neuroscience, the prefrontal cortex is this front part of the brain, which only human beings really have. And it's responsible for, for things like whole brain thinking, intuition. It's responsible for executive function. So it's responsible for so many, many different things. But when we truly engage that, we're at a point where we can hold opposing thoughts simultaneously without an opinion or a judgment against them. So when people say, should I do this or that? I'm torn between the two. The way I get them to think about this is that, how can we make it so you can have both? Why does it have to be one or the other? Why can't you have both?
Yeah.
And I did that this morning, actually. I was on a call with a lady in Thailand who, we were sitting down and talking about, we initially were going to talk about her flow states and getting her into the peak performance states. But it started with a bit of marketing. She goes, I don't want to niche down. On one side, I want to deal with helping people with confidence. On the other side, I want to train people, to become coaches. I'm like, okay, so you've got clients who want confidence, you want people who you want to train to be coaches. She goes, I don't want to choose. And my question to her is, who said you have to? She goes, well, that's what I got told, and all the marketers tell me that.
Yep. You've got a niche.
Yeah. And I was like, well, let's look at it this way. Why do you want to train confidence? Like, what does it give to you? She goes, I want to help these people connect with their greatest potential. And I said to him, okay, great. Let's modify this slightly. And let's say your big mission was to help people to achieve their potential. Okay. And imagine your tagline was achieve your potential. She says, yes, I love that. Now, she was in Thai. I asked her to translate it into Thai. And she says, I don't like the Thai version. I like the English version better. I said, great. Fantastic. That way, even I can understand Thai is not even beginner level, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about achieve your potential as her mission, her big picture, just like Playful Peak Performance is for me. I said, what if achieve your potential is your big idea, your big mission? She goes, I love that. I said, then you can achieve that by helping your clients gain greater confidence. You can achieve that by helping train the coaches who can also then train their own clients to have greater confidence. She goes, wow, I never thought of that. I said, so now let me ask you, can you have both? And she's like, absolutely. And things like that basically is it's a different level of thinking that we've got to take.
Yeah.
As we said, we're so conditioned into thinking this or that, yes and no, black and white, right? Right or wrong.
Yeah.
But what if you have both?
Yeah. And is that the either or? Does that also come from the fight or flight sort of mode as well of, I've got to make a decision because I've got to keep myself safe? Is the fight or flight piece connected into that?
That's really interesting that you say that, because the fight or flight, the neurological response comes from your adrenal glands just above your kidneys, right?
Yeah.
And it probably comes a little bit just before then.
Right. Okay.
Just a little bit before that fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
If we're looking at it from a bioenergetic system, right? It probably comes a little bit before that, when our instincts start developing, right? As our instincts start developing, we realize that we can trust something or we can't. Something's right or something's wrong. And that's when it starts engaging the right side of our brain, right? The creative side of our brain. And that's usually, to be quite honest, that happens very early in our development, right? In our human development. And even societally, when you think about how we were as societies, at a very basic level, we live for feeding and fleeing and sleeping and reproducing and all that basic, animalistic type behavior.
Yeah.
But there came a point where we realized that, hey, we can do things better as a collective. Our instincts developed, and we started developing, let's call it a hive mind, a communal thinking. In high neuroscience, we call it group flow, right?
Yeah.
So we start being in sync with people that were our tribe.
Yeah.
That's where this first started coming from. Right? And then as we started developing our own independence, now we see this happen in life, the instincts served us, the tribe served us, our families served us until we became teenagers. And then everything changed because, I want to do things my way. The rebellion kicked in.
Yeah.
Right? And all of a sudden, logic started taking a different turn. So our left brain gets engaged.
Yeah.
And that's where the fight or flight really comes from. Instinct then kicks into logic. Right?
Yep.
So it happened just pre-instinct, just pre-fight or flight level, I'd say. Is it happened at the instinctual level first?
Yeah. And I would imagine too is that, as you know, I work with the theta brainwave in the healing that I do. It's where all our belief systems sit.
Yeah.
So there would probably also be in the work that you do with people that clearing or identifying those bottom beliefs too, in the sense of I have to do or make the decisions that is right for my family, or that is right to please my family. I can't, I can't rebel and not think like them, because if I would imagine then that would be really complex with some of the people that you work with.
Yeah. So some of the things that I teach clients, and this comes from the work of initially from Claire Graves and then Burke and Cohen, who then developed that into spiral dynamics. And then, more recently it's come into values work with, Dr. Adriana James, who's really now the forerunner of this work. Yeah. This basically comes down to our belief, not just our belief systems, but proto-beliefs, which are values, the things that are important to us, right? And this is where that stuff kicks in. And so when we can identify values, and these aren't judgments of what's good, what's bad, everyone has values, because values simply are what's important to us.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes from. As we grow, our values change. What was once important to us, that security blanket, that teddy bear, making sure we had the dummy in our mouth or the binky in your mouth, is no longer important to us.
Yeah.
Right? Now we have other things that are important to us. And as we grow and as we change, as we evolve and as our consciousness evolves, different things become important to us. Yeah. And where once it might have been, I need to keep my mum and dad happy, it may change into now I need to keep my husband or wife happy.
Yeah.
So now I need to keep myself happy.
Yeah.
Right. And it can change. And we're in a constant state of growth. Consciousness doesn't stop. Unlike what Maslow said, where consciousness ends with, self-actualization.
Yeah.
The school of thought I follow tends to say that consciousness is constantly evolving. It's an open system.
Yeah.
And because it's open system, you will always be growing. You'll always be changing. And what's important to you now may not be important to you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the track. There is no end to the growth of consciousness.
Yeah. That constant evolution.
Yeah.
Becoming, always evolving, and eventually, in the spiritual world, we often talk about, eventually becoming an ascended master, right? Learned everything after thousands of lifetimes, that one day you'll get there.
You'll get there. Yeah.
But it's a very big evolution. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's huge. And look, here's the truth around that. And this is where clients of mine who want to make that change need to be willing to let go of the things that they once held dear. That doesn't mean disbelieving it.
Yeah.
Right? It means that in the context of which they want to grow, they may need to start embracing the opposite.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the only reason they're stuck is because their values are being hindered from growing. What's important to their consciousness is being hindered from growing because they're still stuck on the past beliefs.
Yeah. And one of the things that I do a lot when I'm clearing belief systems is to offer forgiveness as well, because like both of my parents have passed away, and I know that a lot of my belief systems were my parents just raising me the way that they thought was the right way to raise me, right? So but I often spiritually talk to my parents all the time, and if I am clearing something, I'll say to them, I'm so grateful that you gave me this belief system, but I'm also now releasing it, and I'm releasing it with no judgment or anything like that, because forgiveness for myself and them is really important to me, because it feels like it's got a different energy of then releasing it.
It's such a beautiful approach to that, Megan. I like that. I've got this belief rather than saying, you messed up my life.
Yeah.
It's kind of, well, thank you. This worked for me. And now I'm letting it go because I've got something different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. And that forgiveness is like real, because as we know, self-forgiveness and forgiving others is the biggest gift that we can ever give anyone, ourselves or anyone else. So, Yeah,
totally.
And so with this, this work in relation to the dual ideas and the dual beliefs, have you got an example of someone, maybe a leader that you've worked with in corporate? Because I know you've just given an example of a client that works for herself, but have you got an example of someone in corporate that you've helped them to understand that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been working with a gentleman a little while back. He was the vice president of sales for a very large tech company. And they were a unicorn tech company. Like, they were doing some amazing things well ahead of their time. They've done, some trailblazing work in both AI and cybersecurity and the enmeshment of both. So it's a pretty exciting field, especially if you're in tech. Like, it's, people will geek out on that. Now, you got to think about it this way. This guy comes from a technology world, and he is very much, about what can I see? Very much the rational.
Oh, yeah.
He was stuck. Right? And I won't go too much into his actual issues, but let's say he had a bit of an issue with drinking too much, right? Because he was stressed. Okay? Because he was stressed. Now, the work that we did, firstly, not only helped him to stop his alcohol dependency, but also got him to start looking at things not just from a scientific engineering point of view, but also to bring his own spiritual values into it. Right? In the sense that, like, he thought the two were separate. He thought, look, I can't bring my spiritual values into work, right? He's a very devoted person to his faith. But he felt that the minute he walked into work, people would victimize him for his spiritual beliefs. So he kept them quiet.
Yeah.
Now, most of us think, hey, we go into corporate. Yeah, we tend to do the work stuff. We don't bring our spirituality into it.
Yeah.
So I said to him, okay, let's work it this way. You can be scientific. You can be engineering focused. You can be purely evidence-based. You can do that. But put it this way, your stress has come because you are out of alignment.
Yeah.
Okay, with who you truly are. Now, when I talk about spirituality, especially to corporate people, I make it very grounded.
Yeah.
Right? I'll talk about intuition. I'll talk about purpose. I'll talk about alignment.
Yep.
Right? I will talk to them if they have rituals, they can use them. If I prescribe rituals, they're very grounded rituals. It's like breathing. It's like, visualization. I'm not going to ask them to burn incense or, do rain dances or things like that. That's up to them if they want to do it. More power to them. But, understand that this space is a very conservative space.
Yes.
And people are naturally skeptics.
Yeah.
You want to give them something that they can connect with, which is tangible. So we got him to to be deeper into his spiritual practices. He didn't have to bring them work. He didn't have to shove them down his throat. He just needed to be real about them. Right? He just needed to be real about them because he wanted to bring more of his spirituality into his day-to-day life.
Right.
So he got involved with prayer. He got involved in meditation. He got involved with mantra recitation. So he started doing that work. And even when he was talking to his clients, he'd bring subtle things into it. Like, instead of saying, God bless you, he'd bring his own faith versions of that into it. It's like, instead of saying good luck, he would say things like, God be with you. Simple things like that. So he brought his religion into that. But then he brought some of his own spiritual practice into that. So every time before he'd go into a sales conversation, right, he would sit there, he would breathe, he would visualize, and everyone just thought he was prepping. He took his company, just to give you an idea, right, in a space of about 6 months, right, took his company from a target of 10 million, which they were falling short of, right? So 10 million was the target. They were at 2 million, right? They were falling short of the target. Very short, very short, right? Within that period of time, it was between 3 and 6 months. And I'm just trying to recall the exact period of time. But put it this way, he had a very short period of time to meet that target, and they got to 9 million.
Wow.
So just fell short, but it was enough to make the directors of the board happy enough to keep that project moving.
Mm.
And why? Because he brought science and spirituality together, right? He brought the fact that he can be social and sober together.
Yeah.
Right. And we introduced different things. Like, part of the things was he wanted tactics for how can he stay sober at social functions when the pressure was around to be, having alcohol. I said, look, consider alternatives. Like, there's brands out there like Liars or Seedlip or, things that you can try, which are adult drinks, but they're non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
Why don't you try those? Right. And now it gives you the premium feel, but without having to succumb to peer pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, he wanted to fit in, and now he found a way to do it.
Wow.
He wanted to be more authentic to himself. He found a way to do it.
Mm.
So it didn't have to be this or that. It didn't have to be, I can't bring my spirituality to work. It's all science and engineering.
Yeah.
He brought spirituality to work, and his sales performance increased.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, whether that's divine intervention or that's just him being his real self.
Yeah.
I'll leave that for people to decide, but it worked.
Yeah. And I think that, when we do the work for ourselves and on ourselves, our energy shifts. So everyone around us feels it. It's funny because a few episodes ago, my mentor was the guest on the show, Mark Anthony, theta healer, and I've been doing over 10 years with him. And it's quite funny because we've often had a joke in the sense of when we're in class going, really? Is it us? Do we still have to be the ones doing the work? Can't someone else do the work? But we know that actually when we do the work, then that energy shifts and it ripples out to everyone around us and it affects everybody else. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really interesting the way you're talking about the energy shifts, because it was very clear, very evident with this client of mine. As I said, he worked for a unicorn, but his big thing was when he was true to himself, when he was incorporating his own spiritual practices, right? We don't share the same spiritual practices, and I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine for him to believe what he believes, but he needs to be real to it, right?
Yeah.
And he was. He went in there and he said, it feels like people were just wanting to work with me. And so we broke that down. I said, imagine you're going into there and you're feeling like you haven't done the things, you haven't offered your prayers or your mantras or your, you haven't done your little rituals that are important to you.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't performed what you needed to do. And then you go in there and you don't feel real. You don't feel you've done the authentic thing. What are people going to think? They're not going to think this guy hasn't done his prayers. They're not going to think he hasn't meditated. They're going to think this guy's holding back on me because something doesn't feel right.
Yeah. The alignment's out.
Right. The alignment's completely out. And when you're out of alignment with yourself, it's like it's written above you. Hey, something's wrong. Don't buy from this far, right? Cancel, delete, right?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it was, right? People feel it. They may not be able to identify it. They may not use the same language of growth and spirituality and esoterica to identify. Say, something doesn't feel right about this guy. I don't know. I feel like he's holding out on me. Yeah. And the trust is gone.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What a great example. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. It's really, really, really beautiful example. And I love that. I love that just so many things that you worked with him on as well. It wasn't just the work thing. It was all that personal the personal piece as well, and the strategies and the tools. And being a non-drinker myself, I know what it's like to, when I first stopped drinking, it was that pressure of people, people look at you like, what, you're not having a drink? Like you've got, there's something wrong with you,
Yeah.
That feeling of, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll just get something that looks like a drink so that then no one comments,
Yeah. And I think just on that, and I wanted to raise something which actually my uni students brought to my attention, was that there's a whole movement called Sober Curious. And I'm like, that's a thing?
Yeah.
Wow. People are curious what it's like to be sober in a social situation.
Yeah.
So there is growing, there is a growing movement to question the current culture of doing things, the current way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually such a powerful place to be.
Absolutely.
Such a powerful place to be.
Yeah.
That's also what the paradoxical thinking, the ability to hold two opposing thoughts comes from. is your ability to question what it is you believe, right?
Yeah.
Question your thoughts, right? We call that metacognition. Question your thinking, right?
Yeah.
Thinking about thinking is metacognition. And your ability to do that, and your willingness to go there is what firstly opens up your ability and your willingness to be able to hold diametrically opposing thoughts. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. And that curiosity too, in the sense of like when your intuition kicks in, you know, you meet someone and you think, oh, why, I can't quite put my finger on it, but that person doesn't feel quite right. Or, you know, or my relationship with someone is, you know, I've had this friendship with someone and it's something's changing, something's shifting, you know, have they changed? Have I changed? But it's that trusting that intuition and then being curious about that as well.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It is.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. So I can't wait to ask about this one. So you're sharing some new work, the executive intuition, and with this work you're weaving in tarot. Love it. You know, all my cards behind here. So for anyone that's raising an eyebrow right now or possibly leaning in to hear more, can you help us understand what that actually means in a boardroom or leadership context? Like what is this work around? Is it the same as what you're doing? Has got a different spin? Like, tell us everything.
Yeah, cool. So executive intuition, if you notice it, it's almost like, again, opposing thoughts, right? This is the paradoxical thinking. And I think, you know, there was a time when, if you look back in the past, where executive work, when you're in leadership, it was all about the numbers. And then they realized there's something that's missing, and it became emotional intelligence. It's like, oh, emotional intelligence used to be woo-woo. Yeah. Now it's like mainstream. And then we started seeing things like creativity being introduced into leadership and performance work, where once creativity is, that's for the, you know, the starving artist. Now it's like, now that's something that we need, right? I believe the same is going to happen with intuition, right? And I believe we're kind of at the very verge of it starting to take place and take hold in corporate leadership, and, you know, management leadership, and, you know, just decision making, even amongst, you know, high level business owners themselves. So there's a part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for intuition, which I mentioned earlier. Executive intuition is about bringing the two worlds together. And as I said, it can be a very grounded form of intuition. And I explain to them in two explanations. The first one is intuition. There's a structure of intuition, right? What you do is you first think a bigger picture. In NLP, we call it chunking up. So those of you NLP trained will get what I mean. It's called thinking to the next level, right? You chunk up. You then find things that are similar to it, that are related to it, and then bring that back down. You chunk back down and apply it to the situation, right? Going big picture, moving across to a different big picture and looking at how you can apply that to the current circumstance. And that happens like in seconds for people. But if you were to break it down, you can practice it that way. Right? So the structure of intuition from a neuro-linguistic programming point of view is very well detailed and laid out. There is a step-by-step process to actually develop intuition. From a neuroscience perspective, right, they talk about neural pattern recognition, right? So neural pattern recognition combined with a concept called interoception. Now, interoception basically means you get an internal feeling.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Feeling. And that's actually part of your nervous system working. So when the neural pattern recognition happens, which basically means you were recognizing patterns at a neurological level, at a brain level, at a nervous system level. When you start recognizing it, it creates a feeling inside of you, which we know that's intuition.
Right? Nudge.
Don't go down that road, or go make that call, or whatever it may be, right? So neuroscience has actually validated intuition as being very legitimate, very important, and very necessary for people to perform in a peak state. So peak performance requires intuition. Okay. When you go into flow states, your intuition increases. And don't quote me on this one, but I believe the number was in the hundreds of percentages increases in intuition, right? It could be 400%, or I might be thinking of something that might be creativity. But it increases your intuitive faculties increase. So which means you're making greater neural pattern connections, right? You're having a higher interoception or internal kinesthetic feeling, right? And so from a scientific point of view, that's how I first explain it to them.
Yeah.
Okay. What I tell them is that, again, you can then start using focus tools to help your intuition.
Yeah.
And your focus tools could be numbers. Your focus tools could be, it could be just diagrams. Your focus tools could be a deck of cards. And that's where I introduce the tarot.
Yeah.
Because then the tarot itself, and especially the deck that I teach with, which is the Rider-Waite, is filled with symbolism and color. And what it does, it breaks down the patterns that you see.
Yeah.
That then stirs the unconscious mind. It gives you an interoception, an internal feeling, and that then gives you the next way forward.
Mm-hmm.
When I did this type of work with people, non-believers in the tarot who were skeptical have reported some amazing results. And just to give you an idea, one lady who is an allied health practitioner would never have used intuition, has got no spiritual beliefs whatsoever, right? We did some work with the tarot. Okay. Again, from a very grounded perspective, this is not fortune telling, and I've got to be really clear about this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing predictive work.
Yeah.
I'm not doing predictive work.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm bringing up things, right? And I'm giving my interpretation of it, of what I see in the cards. I'm giving her the advice, and it's triggering within her a new way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Right? A new pattern to look at. So I look at the pattern, I look at tarot from a point of view is that what it does, the tarot creates new patterns, or it takes old patterns and applies them in new circumstances. To give you an idea, we pulled out 3 cards. We then put 3 qualifiers on each of those 3 cards, which basically means 3 cards, then 3 cards to explain those 3 cards. That was about 11 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Right? We basically did it because the question that she asked was, am I on the right path to get my business to 7 figures this year? The answer came, make it simpler, make the decision to do it now. And she calculated that if she did it right now, she would reach that 7-figure amount in 5 months, not 12. And so she went ahead and did that.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, there's no fortune telling there. This is me giving an interpretation which triggered an unconscious response.
Yeah.
Right? She chunked up, got the patterns, applied it to where she was at, and applied the strategy. And that's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So I teach that process of how to actually interpret that. I teach that process of how to actually use that. So what we're doing is we're developing intuition using a focus tool, which is the tarot.
Yeah.
And why the tarot? Because it's to be easy. You can carry it around with you. At any time you want before a meeting, you pull out cards, you can see what it means, and then you get that feeling, that gut feeling, that interoception.
Yeah.
It's a very easy tool to learn. And now part of what I'm going to be doing is actually teaching my students, the ones that I'm certifying as coaches, a whole course in executive intuition so they can do that at a practitioner and a master practitioner level. Yeah. And so they'll be certified as, practitioners or master practitioners of executive intuition. Yeah. So, that's the work that I'm doing with that right now.
Interesting.
Pretty
Love
cool.
it. Yeah. Love it. So good. And I think too, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like when you're just perfect example for her not being intuitive at all. But I think sometimes when you use cards, someone then sees, particularly if they're visual, then that all of a sudden there's something in front of them that actually they can relate to. And then it's then tangible as well, right? Like, it's that, I think sometimes it's that tangibility as well. That's right. As you know, my husband, very IT geek guy, is so intuitive, but then his logical brain comes in and goes, well, actually that, because it's not tangible. Whereas then when I get cards out or he uses the cards, then it lands differently for him because he can see it and he can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, that's, and this is where I think the fun part of tarot is that you can do both a logical read as well as an intuitive read.
Yeah.
Right? So if maybe your gut feelings decided that, I'm having a holiday today, then you can just read the cards logically and the meanings can still have the same effect.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you've got brain fog, it's like my brain's just not braining. Well, that's fine. You pull out your cards and you have an intuitive read. You can use both in any circumstance.
Yeah.
The ironic thing about this, Megan, it's 26 years ago, I actually trained under a professional psychic. and I was a psychic tarot reader, right? So this is part of me being playful again is, okay, I want to be cheeky about it. And I'm not talking playful as like being out there rebellious crazy, but how can I have more fun with this?
Yeah.
Why don't I bring it? Why can't corporates and executives have the tarot deck? Who said they can't?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah? And again, opening up the question, this is where the paradoxical thinking comes in, right? And embracing the paradox without having to commit to either is fine too.
Yeah. And it's really interesting from a corporate point of view too, because having also a corporate career, when I started sort of doing paid readings for people, 100% all of my clients were people that I worked with in corporate.
Yeah.
But no one ever talked about it.
No one talks about it, right?
No one talks about it, but, 100% all of the clients were always people who I worked with, or I'd mention, because I got an intuitive feeling when I talked to them at work and say, oh, I do readings. But, yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. So fascinating.
I foresee, and I don't think it's from the cards, I just, call it my interoception, my gut feeling on this one, right, is that I think this is where leaders are going to start picking up and using intuition more.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's going to be the next emotional intelligence, the next, design thinking, creative thinking, that type of thing. Right. Yeah. I think this is where leaders want this stuff developed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if they're not able to do it themselves, they want to be able to access it via someone who can actually do that in a grounded, sensible way.
Yeah, yeah. And it'll be funny because then it'll become the new rage and we'll all be sitting back going, we've been doing this for years.
Years, like small, man.
It's not new.
Get with the times.
Exactly. Yeah. So talking about training the next generation of high executive or high performance executive coaches. So what does the world need more of from that next generation, and what do you hope that they're going to do differently?
Wow, what a powerful question. What a great question. What does the world need more of? They need real. They need authentic. They need not someone who's just going to ask the usual questions. I think they need people who've got access to the tools to bring out the gold.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Socratic question of executive coaches. I think they need people who are willing to roll up sleeves and be partners with them. At times lead them, at times support them.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the world right now, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to be a little bit controversial. I think there's two types of coaches in the world: the ones who lead, and the ones who are just out there as marketers wanting to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
To be frank, I don't want my coaches to be the latter.
Yeah.
I really don't. Okay. Yeah. I think the real coaches, the ones that are leaders out there in the world, are too few.
Yeah.
But this is what the world needs right now, is they need real leadership, and they need authentic leadership, which is why, when I'm certifying and training my coaches, it is in 6 modalities across NLP, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, coaching as well at an NLP level. I will train them in executive intuition, right? And I will train them in business neuroscience too. Why? Because you need to have the spread of tools. And at the moment, everyone's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Right? And what leaders need to be able to do is to be able to think across the spectrum.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to be looking for in a coach.
Yeah.
Someone who can think across the spectrum, from science to spirituality and everything in between.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, from black to white and all these shades of grey in between.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They need to be willing to go out there and try things that other people are not willing to jump into.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where things like, there was a time when science was seen as, oh, you can't bring science into business. And now it's almost mainstream when people talk about consumer psychology, right? Employee behaviour, right?
Yeah.
That's all science.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think spirituality is going to break that way into business as well, starting with intuition, right? And alignment and purpose. And you're already working so deeply into the purpose side of things, right? So you get this, and you're probably seeing this. I think the spirituality is going to make, it's going to be normalized as part of business.
Yeah.
And so what does the world need right now? Leaders, coaches who are willing to go there before anyone else and are willing to normalize it.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Yeah. And I mean, that's all the clients that I work with, they love the fact that sometimes they'll step in and I'll be like, oh, you need a card. Let me get a card for you first. Or hang on a minute, we need to have some strategy today. I'm going to put my old HR hat on and give you some advice, like that sort of thing. But they love that because it's like that real, there's lots of different facets of what they need at that time. It's not always this box. No. It's from session to session. You need different things to help you transform and uncover and 100%.
That's exactly what it is.
And
I think this is where that dichotomous thinking, it's not this or that, it has to be this and that. That's where it comes in.
Love that.
I call it the hidden advantage, right? It's where using spirituality, using science, that's the hidden advantage that people in business especially and life are looking to tap into. What I personally feel is if you can help those people at the top, there's a trickle-down effect.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. So one of my usual questions is, has your path to pursuing your passion and purpose evolved over time? Obviously it has. But how do you know when you need to pivot or make a change? Like what happens? Obviously your intuition kicks in, but what else happens for you? Like, is it a feeling? Is it I don't know, is it a thought? Is it all of it? What physically happens to you when you know you've got to pivot?
Wow, what a great question. And this is actually something I've been thinking about myself for a little while, is when the pivot takes place, what's actually going on? And I noticed there's a couple of things I noticed that are actually happening. There's a hesitation, right, to do the things that I need to do to make this current pathway work. It's almost as if I know I've got to do it, but something is stopping me from doing it. Right? Something within me makes me feel that I just can't even do it. Right? That's the first thing that I notice, is that there is an inability for me to take action on that path any longer. And I've started realizing that as soon as that happens, before it used to be months, then it was weeks, then days, and now it's literally within hours I realize, okay, this isn't the right path. This is not the right path. My gut's telling me something's off, right?
Is it like a misalignment then, right? Like you're interpreting it that then is like, oh, I'm misaligned on something that used to be in alignment.
Yeah, I'd explain it as it's this visceral. It's like trying to walk to the very edge of the cliff and look over. Do you know how that hesitation, just in case I fall, and you're like,
right,
I've got to be careful? It's that type of feeling. It's like, I know I've got to do it, and I've got my hands on the keyboard, and I can't do it.
Can't do it.
That visceral, yeah? Going to the edge of the cliff and scared that you're going to fall over. It's that same feeling. I can't do it. I just can't do it, right?
Yep.
Now, if for some reason I end up doing it anyway, I don't have the energy to pursue it. So my unconscious mind, my spiritual self, my nervous system is basically saying no.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I've learned to pay attention to that. That's the first thing. The second thing that happens is I need to take a bit of space. I need to step back, right? And take a big picture view of the situation. Am I in alignment with where I want to go? How do I know I'm in alignment where I want to go? Well, I ask myself, well, what do I want? All right? And there's some beautiful Ayurvedic techniques. They call them marma points, where you press certain points on your fingers, right? Right hand, press it 6 times and ask yourself what you want. What do I want? And ask it 6 times. And then just close your eyes, right? And what happens, it triggers part of you, and I can't remember which nerve it was now. I think it was the vagus nerve. I could be wrong on that. But what it does, it triggers one of your nerves, which then stimulates the unconscious mind to give you a pattern of what it is you actually want.
Really?
Yeah, really. Yeah, absolutely, really. So you do this exercise, right? You breathe in, and over your right eye, you put a white frame. Why? Just to give yourself a visual anchor, right? There's nothing mystical about it. I'm not about mystifying. I'm about demystifying, right?
Yeah.
So you put that there. So you've got your focus on this side of your head. Okay. Then what you do is you press this finger 6 times, and it's an ancient Ayurvedic technique. It's called a marma point. And there's 109 of these points for various occasions. And you ask yourself, what do I want? So go and do that. And I just as I do that, what tends to happen is I get a feeling and I get a visual in my mind. And sometimes it's the most puzzling thing. Like, for example, when I did this last, I could see myself wearing a white linen shirt, blue shorts, and walking along a beach. And I'm asking myself, what is that meant to be? Should I go for a walk on the beach? But what I realized was the feeling I got, right? That kinesthetic feeling, that gut feeling, was what I wanted was something that was giving me a sense of calm.
Right.
Because right now, everything around me was not giving me that feeling.
Right.
And when that stillness comes into play, I know I've got to align with that stillness. So what is it that's going to give me the stillness? And that's when I start brainstorming. What do? Pick up my pen and paper and I journal.
Right.
And usually by page 3 of my journal, the answer is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Because then there's a sense of, I don't know what to do, to, okay, I think I'm getting a grip on it, to, yes, this is it.
Yeah.
So you see over those 3 pages, my writing changes, my energy changes. And it's like I'm self-coaching.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like self-coaching. So that's what I do. And I've just literally broken it down, and everyone I've given this process to has told me the same thing. It really works for them.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's a bit of practice, but it's a powerful practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Wow. If anyone does that, please leave comments and let us know how it goes.
Sometimes, just on that, you may not get the answer straight away, but you'll get direction.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes what's happening is your intuition kicks in and you think, what about if I tried this? And so sit with that, give it a go. And again, if you feel like you're walking off the edge of the cliff, it's not the right direction.
Yeah.
Now, that's for me. You might have your own way of doing it, but this is what I know.
Yeah.
Now. But that journaling thing, that's gold.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. So we've actually only got a couple of minutes left. I feel like I've only asked you one thing. As usual, our conversations are always like this. I love it. So because you're a returning guest, I'm going to tweak my last question. And so what is one lesson or truth that you've learned over the last few months that you're really grateful for?
Oh, I love that. And the first thing that comes to mind, my interoception. First thing that comes to mind is give yourself permission. Right? For too long, I've been probably hiding the mystical side, the esoteric side. Too long, it's really funny, I've been hiding the science side, the neuroscience, the NLP, all of that. Yeah, because in my mind, I needed permission to make that work in my marketing agency.
Yeah.
But I'm not running a marketing agency anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, well, I asked myself the question, if I could wave a magic wand and look, I'm a copywriter, by trade. There's my pen. That's my magic wand.
That's your magic wand.
My magic wand is a pen, right? So bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, and I beat myself on the head and said, if I could live my life the way I wanted to now, how would I create it? And it literally was all that came up. I would bring science and spirituality together.
Yep.
I would not try and make the change on the world myself. I would create the change agents. And therefore, for me, yes, I'll coach people, but you know what? I want to create a whole army of high-performance executive coaches that are going to make this change at the high level with a trickle-down effect, and that's how I feel the world's going to make a change.
Wow.
So I need to give myself permission to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't giving myself permission to do that before.
Beautiful.
And so in giving myself that permission, I'm more free to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I get to play.
Yeah.
I get excited about it.
Wow. I love that. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me again today. And as usual, look, our conversations are deep, inspiring. I'm so grateful to you, Nikhil. I really am.
I have so much stuff over here, and it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to come out and share a little bit of what I do with the world out there. I hope it makes a difference to people. And if that makes that much of a difference, then, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And again, thank you, Nikhil.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of The True North Show. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to your own sense of purpose and reminded you of the power you hold within. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's also walking the path of becoming. To continue the journey, head over to megannorth.com. You'll find resources, support, and ways to work with me one-on-one. Until next time, keep trusting yourself, following your intuition, and taking one aligned step at a time. Your true north is never lost. It's just waiting for you to come home.